In this episode of Midnight Double Feature, we got trailers for American Pickle, Pixar's Soul, and a whole bunch more. Plus, reviews of 7500 and Hamilton. Plus, the MDF game. All this and more on Midnight Double Feature. And we're back. And what else is back? The movies! Yay! How you doing, Zahab?
I'm good, man. The movies are back just for us, though. So sorry to our American listeners, where we kind of have to rub this into their faces, man.
Yeah. Really, shout outs to everyone who's living the hard life of not being able to go to the movies. I haven't gone yet, but I will soon. It's a lot of just...
I've been twice.
Wow. What did you say?
So the first night I saw Tarantino's Reservoir Dogs because I couldn't pass it up. I've never seen it at the movies. You know, nice. I goddamn love that movie. And the second time I went to go see The Invisible Man because I goddamn love that movie.
So good, Invisible Man.
I know. Fuck. I know. I actually wanted to ask you, not really ask you, but like kind of just float this by you. I heard some critics and some actual insider industry movie people on podcasts and stuff speculate that the cinemas in the United States will not open this year. That is wild, but not unfounded considering how many cases of the coronavirus there currently are and they're currently rising. Look, I don't really... you and I and Colin and Danny mandated that we will not talk about the coronavirus on this podcast because it's just such a bummer. But, I just thought that was really interesting, dude.
I think that's a bit hard to believe. I think it would have to rapidly shoot up very high. Because even now in Australia, we haven't just opened like it's normal. There's, from my understanding, there are certain seats you can sit in. Like there are gaps in between for social distancing. Is that how you experienced it?
Well, not really. They say, literally the messaging is, we recommend you leave a seat between you, but if you arrived with friends, you can still sit next to each other.
So it's not enforced.
Yeah, it's not enforced. No.
Yeah, it's a bit troublesome because in the States you've got, I don't want to get too political in the world and stuff, but we had the protests first for not being in lockdown.
Black Lives Matter.
And then we had Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
So even before that, there were different protests, which was always insane to me that like the cops weren't coming out and attacking people then for their protests and stuff, and they're doing that now. But not getting too much into that. So, and
but the Black Lives Matter movement, like that's not happening all across the country. It's happening in certain pockets of the state. So it's not in every city.
I imagine like it would.
We're starting this episode off hard.
I didn't expect to go here, but like I think it is really interesting to think about how the movie industry will tackle it. I think maybe in the States it'll go down to state law, so maybe different states will open as it is. I kind of wish it was more like, for them, I kind of wished it was more like judged on a federal level, but I'm not an American politician. I'm not going to tell anyone how to do their jobs.
Honestly, I think pretty much most of the American populace is thanking that it's not up to the federal level.
Yeah, probably.
Thanking it.
I don't know. I just want everyone to be safe, ultimately. Speaking of movie insider stuff, I've heard something, a friend who is on the inside, and supposedly...
Well, we love to be humble here.
Yeah.
We love to be humble.
I just don't want to reveal anything that might get anyone in trouble, but I'm hearing the way a lot of studios are now, what their plans are, is they're all looking at Tenet, and they're going to see how Tenet does. Apparently, a lot of studios are thinking, look, Tenet is Nolan's follow-up sort of in a way to Inception. It's a huge blockbuster movie that really like wants to be in the cinemas. And while a lot of other people want to hold back, Nolan's like, fuck it, I want it in there. So a lot of studios are looking at it like, this is the mouse in the experiment. If it does well, then it's safe to put the movies out. If it does shit, let's hold off a bit. Because no one knows how the public's going to react. Will they want to go to cinemas? Will they want to risk it? Will they want to go to the movies?
I don't think that's as insider information as you think. Like,
probably not. But
Warner Brothers themselves have pushed back Tenet twice now. So, like Warner Brothers themselves, they like, and Nolan. I know Nolan is going to Warner Brothers and being like, do not like release this movie on streaming. But I mean, at the end of the day, he doesn't have a say as to whether whether the studio releases the movie or not, or where it releases it or not.
But
he doesn't have a say.
But they have made a commitment, like by releasing that trailer and being like coming to theaters at such like a time like that. I think it is going to be one of the first big blockbusters we see back in theaters, and
I agree.
And I think that will determine its success. Will give confidence or the opposite of confidence to these studios of if it's safe to release shit or not. Like, I don't see a movie like The Kingsman or even like James Bond. I don't see James Bond coming out the week after Tenet if Tenet does shit, you know? They'll push it back if they have to.
I don't know, actually, because I feel like... in my opinion, I feel like James Bond is actually the better kind of litmus test for whether a movie is going to do good at the cinemas or not, because the last Bond and the Bond before that made $1 billion. Christopher Nolan is the only kind of driving factor behind Tenet. That and some amazing looking footage and amazing trailer, blah blah. So like the Bond franchise is going strong. You know, Spectre is not a fantastic movie, but it still made nearly $1 billion, or might have made $1 billion. But Dunkirk didn't come anywhere near $1 billion.
Oh, for sure. You know? But I think like if you're some rich studio head who's put a lot of money into a movie, you're not going to release it at a time when no one's going to the movies. So I don't think it's going to happen. But if Tenet bombs in the box office, it's going to fucking scare everybody. I don't think that'll mean James Bond's coming to Netflix. Like, don't get me wrong there.
No.
That's not going to happen. But, you know, I could see like someone like Disney going, Black Widow goes next year. As huge of a movie that is.
Yeah.
Like,
that's not what I'm saying. Yeah. Like, I'm not saying that Tenet... I'm saying that they're going to keep pushing Tenet back until next year. Like, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. I'm not saying that, you know, Tenet's going to come out and then no other movie's going to come out because Tenet's going to bomb. Tenet is like you said, the first big kind of movie that's up on the chopping block at the moment, at the time of recording. However, I think, you know, given what a lot of people are saying and what they're talking about and stuff like that, I think that they're going to keep pushing it back and back and back and back. I mean, unfortunately, the situation in the States is not getting any better.
Yeah, I think, and it's really sad how a lot of people seem to refuse to acknowledge how serious the situation is. Like, man, every now and then I'll see something pop on my feed and be, oh, hey, look, it's a coronavirus survivor and they have trouble breathing now. Like, it's really serious. If anyone listening, please be safe. don't you know,
wear a mask.
Yeah. And even in Australia, how Melbourne has just gotten way worse. It was great 1 minute and now, like overnight, I think there's like 70, 80 cases. But let's think of happy thoughts.
Overnight, it was 148 cases. I don't know where you're getting your news from. They closed the border between Victoria and New South Wales for the first time in history. For the first, police are headed down to the New South Wales-Victoria border to police it. Yeah. Literally like the United States and Mexico border.
The biggest nightmare story I've seen is there's that apartment block or something that just got like closed off without anyone's knowledge. Like they've got people guarding out, making sure people don't leave.
It's wild.
It's fucking crazy. But, you know, this shit is serious. You know what is serious? Our love for our fans. Make sure you like us on Facebook.
Oh, boy.
Oh, man. I'm trying to find a segue to something happy. I'm trying so hard, man.
I quit podcasting. I quit it.
Oh man, how do we bounce back from this, man? I want to cry. I'm so sad.
No, we got a good show coming up.
We do. In fact, before the podcast, I was like, dude, this might be one of the shortest episodes ever. We've got nothing this week, and then I started looking like, oh no, we've got heaps of stuff this week. Let's cut some stuff out. But we got a bunch of trailers. Look, normally it's the part we do our social plugs. Find the after party, Instagram, yada yada yada. But let's have some. I want to cheer up. Let's get into some fucking trailers, shall we?
Let's get into it, man.
I think the biggest trailer which dropped might be American Pickle. Maybe, yeah. Or at least recently, where we got a full on trailer. Seth Rogen plays opposite Seth Rogen, where this guy fell in like a pickle factory or something, and he
became Captain America.
Yeah, he Captain America himself. And I'm getting a real Judd Apatow vibe from this, because it's like this older man giving this younger version of himself like life advice and stuff. And man, though, it's hard to judge the tone of it, though. It is a weird film. I'm kind of all for it, though. I don't mind things going weird, but I'm getting a really weird vibe from this. What are you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's not a movie that I'm not super looking forward to it, and the trailer hasn't really fully sold me yet. I mean, look, I love Seth Rogen. I'll see him in anything. I actually really do enjoy him. And like, when he turns on the dramatic, he can turn on drama. Like, he's funny and stuff as well. But when he turns on drama, especially in Knocked Up, and especially in movies like that require the drama and the actual acting chops, he can do it. So I'm kind of getting a vibe from American Pickle where it's, there's the opportunity to do that. I was watching this trailer and like, if this came out in the early 2000s, the trailers would be like, Seth Rogen and Seth Rogen. The American Pickle.
Like the Rob Schneider trailers from South Park. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Or like, the Jeff Portnoy trailers from the start of Tropic Thunder. Jeff Portnoy and Jeff Portnoy.
Seth Rogen is a pickle.
Just
rated PG-13.
Yeah, just kill me.
But it's that's the thing though. It's a crazy situation to draw you in, but it's got a heart that's very serious on the inside of it.
Right, exactly. Like, and look, man, I can look past the whole, he fell in a pickle thing and he woke up like exactly preserved. Like, I can look past it, man. Like, if that's the story they're trying to tell, then whatever. It's not a movie that's meant to be taken full seriously. Except for the connection between family members, right? Like the actual story they're trying to tell. What is more interesting, actually, is the director, Brandon Trost. This is his first movie. This is actually his first movie directing, but he has served as a cinematographer on quite a few notable movies, notably The Disaster Artist and This Is the End. So, I mean, like, it's rare to see a cinematographer move over to directing.
Yeah.
Like, the only one that really pops to mind is Wally Pfister, who was Christopher Nolan's DP for a very long time, and then he moved over to directing, and he directed a trash movie called Transcendence.
Well, clearly, Rogen must have a great professional relationship with this guy. They've collaborated before. What I find interesting is, like, it's a cinematographer, like, you'd think he'd go into something that's really flashy, something that really would be very camera-based. No, like this seems like a acting first type movie. Like we see it all the time with VFX, like VFX supervisors and stuff. Their first directed film, it's always like a big blockbuster with mad CGI and stuff. So yeah, interested to see that.
I do like what's going on with the start of the trailer though, where it looks like it's filmed in 16mm, like that really kind of old-timey element of it. Like it looks like Brandon Trost had a lot of fun filming this, but I'm keen to check it out. It's it's a HBO Max exclusive, right? So I don't know where it's going to premiere here in Australia. I think it's going to go to Foxtel. I
got two final comments on this. First of all, just an interesting headline I see about it from Gizmodo. An American Pickle is a classic immigrant story, except for the pickle thing, which sounds great. And yeah, you really do get that vibe of a very like immigrant type story. But also, just fun fact, just about a month ago or so, I made a discovery. I did not know that pickles did not exist. Pickles are not vegetables. When you see a pickle, it's generally a cucumber. And so this blew my fucking mind.
Me right now?
Yeah, I thought pickle must have been like a vegetable I didn't know about. No one ever tells you these things. Because people call it a pickle. They don't go, oh, here's a pickled cucumber. No, they call it a pickle. And which it's fucking me up, bro. Like Pickle Rick, he's not Pickle Rick. He's Pickled Cucumber Rick. Like...
Did you just learn this?
I learned this about a month ago. Yeah. I thought pickles were a vegetable.
I hate you so much.
You know what? I can't make this shit up.
Tell you what though, I do like the pun of the title, An American Pickle.
Oh,
please
right,
tell me you figured it out. Okay, thank God.
Yeah. It didn't come to me straight away, but
I like a good pun.
Yeah, it's not like a hilarious pun. Yeah. I wonder what the pickle is.
It's about a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, like what is the pickle within the movie? Is it like not knowing what to do with your life? Like
I mean, the pickle is that this guy's goddamn a man out of time, right? Like, he's fucking Captain America. That's the pickle. Like, what does he do now? Get a job?
Maybe there's multiple pickles in this movie. I guess ultimately the real pickle is Seth Rogen, but puns are fun. Moving on, let's talk about a real quick one, really quick. We got a teaser trailer for Pixar's Soul, and I am ready to cry. Like all Pixar films, I can tell already I'm going to bawl my eyes out. I don't know how they're going to do it, but they'll do it.
I'll tell you why you're going to cry. Why? And like how, if you took all the footage out of the trailer and just had the two title cards that they have before the actual title from the studio behind Inside Out and from the studio behind Coco, those two movies are they more kind of like emotional high concept ones. Like like obviously Toy Story is an emotional high concept story, but I think Inside Out and Coco, and I think you'll agree with me, are kind of like on this level where they're a bit more intellectually aimed at older kids, right? Older children. And both movies just absolutely fucking knock the socks out of you, man. Like we covered Coco on the podcast, and I've talked about on that episode just how much that movie reminds me of our grandmother and stuff like that. And it's just amazing how Pixar are just able to animate pixels, literally pixels, and make them relate to your everyday life.
Yeah, man. Like I've said it a million times, and I'll say it a million more. Pixar are the best screenwriters in Hollywood. No one can write a better story than a Pixar film. They're flawless. They know how to mine your emotions, and they literally crawl into your eye sockets and drag the tears out. But they also teach you life lessons. They are the best films, some of the best films you'll ever see, because they can change you as a person. They literally raise our kids, and they can touch you as an adult. And I'm sure this will be no different because they have that higher reputation. It's got Jamie Foxx, Tina Fey, Questlove. I'm very excited. My only thing I could point out is like a lot of these characters have like almost eggplant shaped heads. Like they've really got a very unique art style to it, which kind of caught me at first. But like it's Pixar, they'll make it work. They already are making it work. And oh my god, how New York does New York look in this? It's beautiful, man.
Yeah, really well done.
Oh, and I'm sure this is going to have... You can tell they're going to do the Coco thing where they use music and tie it into like some sort of like relationship and just... I can't wait. This movie's going to be amazing. Can't wait.
Watching Coco now.
Oh, man. I just rewatched it recently. I cried like a little
Ladies and gentlemen, that's the end of this episode of Upcoming Attractions. We'll see you later. I'm going to go watch Coco.
I want to quickly... I haven't seen it. I don't really know much about it other than I need to see it. But... I'm going to give you the spotlight for a second, Zoheb.
Fucking keen.
Tell me about The Boys Season 2 trailer.
Keen. Oh, I thought you were gonna bring up the next one. But look, I'm keen for The Boys Season 2. I actually just watched this trailer again just before we jumped on here. Man, I am excited for this season of television.
Are you fucking keen?
I am fucking keen. Okay, well, look, I'm going through Season 1 of The Boys again. It's only 8 episodes. Really, really accessible, very violent, a different take on superheroes, which in this day and age is a very tough thing to pull off. Like to use the word different and superheroes in the same, sentence, it's tough. It's tough. But the way they do it is really well done. It's very cross, it's, again, very action oriented, but there's humor spread throughout it. It's got its own kind of like voice, and I love that about it because it's just so unique to other high concept shows like this. But this trailer in particular blew me away in terms of, you got Giancarlo Esposito, dude. Giancarlo Esposito.
Someone told me this the other day, like literally just a couple of days ago. I'm like, oh, if I knew that earlier, I would have seen it by now. So I will watch it. I will catch up.
I'm actually really surprised that you haven't seen. You of all people have not seen it, which I'm actually really surprised at.
I watch so much superhero shows. It's kind of annoying. Like I used to watch all the CW shows. It would take literally 5 to 6 hours out of my week of just watching these CW shows, and most of them I'd watch knowing the writing is bad. And then Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
That sounds like a deep and dark hole of depression, to be honest, dude. I don't know why.
Yeah, and around the time The Boys came out, we also got Umbrella Academy and Doom Patrol. I think The Boys came out just a little bit after. Right. And all three of them are like, these are different superheroes. And I did really love Umbrella Academy. I think it's a bit more popcorny than than The Boys. And The Boys just seemed very much like, similar vibe to Watchmen, which also came out around the same time. And it just seems like we're getting a lot of alternate takes on superheroes on TV. And so I was like, okay, this is the one with the least brand recognition. I think the name's fucking stupid, The Boys. So I'm like, I'm not keen. And now everyone's telling me it's the best thing ever. Like, I wish you motherfuckers told me this before I tried watching Doom Patrol.
I'll tell you right now, The Boys is nothing like Watchmen. Like, absolutely nothing.
Okay.
Like, not in terms of tone, not in terms of story, not in terms of characters.
Okay.
There is pretty much nothing in The Boys that is similar to Watchmen at all.
What do you like better?
Watchmen. Yeah. without hesitation. I mean, if I'm comparing, are you talking about TV shows?
Yeah, the Watchmen TV show is what I meant, yeah.
Oh, hands down, Watchmen. Only because the story that Watchmen is able to tell is just so far beyond The Boys. But they're both going for two different things, right? Watchmen is going for a more of an intellectual kind of like exercise and things like that. Whereas The Boys is going for probably popcorn fun. Like literally, like you just said with the Umbrella Academy.
Hang on.
I'm
so sorry to interrupt you. I just realized, Giancarlo Esposito, does he play a supervillain?
I'm not going to spoil anything.
Does he have superpowers in any scene?
Not that I know of yet, no.
Okay, so he's like a Lex Luthor type?
So, look, I'll give you kind of like a breakdown, but not a full-on spoilery breakdown, just in case there's someone on here who hasn't seen season 1 of The Boys. But The Boys, the world of The Boys, okay, so superheroes exist. It's very, it's out there in the public zeitgeist, right? Like everyone knows about it. And the superheroes have actually been privatized by a company, a massive company. And, these superheroes are able to sign on to this company to get exposure. And the company pays them.
It's the plot of Mystery Men, by the way.
I haven't seen it. I haven't. Look, I'm scratching the surface, but there's heroes that you can liken to heroes that exist in DC Comics, right? So there's Homelander, who is Superman. There's I can't remember the other name, but there's a Wonder Woman equivalent, there's a Flash equivalent, there's an Aquaman equivalent. It's kind of like riffs on them, but it tells its own story and it tells it in such a great way. The company's name is Vought Enterprises. Giancarlo Esposito is the head of Vought Enterprises.
Right. Sounds very Lex Luthor-y. I'm sure there's differences.
Very Lex Luthor. Yeah. But look, again, I'm really keen to get into season 2, especially based on this trailer, because looks like they're just doubling down on what we got in season 1 in the best ways. So
I'm going to make it my mission to catch up on that, because that sounds
8 episodes.
Lovely.
8 episodes,
oh, is that it?
dude.
Hour long?
Hour long. Okay. 8 episodes.
Cool. So I have a feeling the next one that you were fucking keen might have been, is it I'll Be Gone in the Dark?
It's I'll Be Gone in the Dark.
Yeah, this is so up your alley.
This is so far up my alley, it might as well be up my ass. Like, seriously. But look, getting serious for a second, I'll Be Gone in the Dark has not been announced for Australia yet. But I
didn't know that. I'm sad now.
It is likely going to be on Foxtel because it's a HBO production. It has aired in the United States. Episode 1 has. So what it is, it's a documentary based on the book written by Michelle McNamara. And Michelle McNamara was the former wife, she's now deceased, unfortunately, the former wife of very famous actor, Patton Oswalt. And what this story tells you is the insane true story and true account of the crimes of the Golden State Killer, or the original Night Stalker, or the East Area Rapist. He had so many monikers, it was crazy. But this is essentially a guy who was operating in San Francisco Bay Area, around California, in the 70s and the 80s. I think it was like late 70s. But what he would do is he would like scope out people's houses, and he would break into these houses, rape the women, tie them up, and he'd leave with money. But like that's where it would start, because these crimes escalated. They'd move into daytime. They'd move to murders. They'd move to actual killings. Like it's insane how he kind of was able to evade the cops for as long as he did. 40 years this guy was able to evade the cops. He got caught a couple of years ago. I think it was 2018, I want to say.
And wasn't that because of the book or something to do with the book?
No, it wasn't. I think the book had a play in it a little bit. I don't fully remember. But what ended up happening is, so the killer's name, and he pleaded guilty literally just the other day, which is an absolutely astounding thing to happen, considering how long this case has been going for, and considering just how long the victims, the families of the victims have been without answers. It's just such a great outcome. He pleaded guilty as part of a plea deal because he did not. He wanted to escape the death sentence, which California still has. He now gets life in prison. But Joseph James DeAngelo is the name of the killer. And what happened is Joseph James DeAngelo's cousin presented himself in a totally unrelated situation, presented his DNA, and they were able to use his family's like lineage and genealogy DNA evidence to tie him to these murders and able to catch him. Like they were like, okay, Joseph James DeAngelo might be our guy. Let's look into Joseph James DeAngelo. James DeAngelo is a former police officer who was on leave around the time of the murders, who, you know, had really weird disappearances, really weird movements around that time. And yeah, dude, eventually they got him, and it's just an absolutely incredible story.
Yeah. Dude, just imagine like a relative of yours decided, hey, you know what would be fun? Let's go 23andMe and find a bit more about family tree. And then you get a call like the week later, oh, hey, so your cousin is like one of the worst serial killers and serial rapists of all time. Like, what the fuck? You wouldn't think that would be what catches someone. That's crazy. And
look, I don't want to get too deep with it, but like his crimes were just heinous, dude. And like they were just so weird. Like he would rock up pretty much in every situation to the house, and he would be wearing a t-shirt. He'd have a weapon in one hand, so either a gun, a baton, or a knife. And he would be wearing a t-shirt and nothing else. Like nothing, like there'd be no pants. Every witness has described his penis as like really weirdly small. I just don't know. Like that's just a weird like detail that I remember. But like he would speak. He would like tell these people to lie down. He'd put plates on their back, so he'd like tie their hands up, put plates on their back, so he knew when they struggled, so he could hear them while he's rummaging around in the kitchen. Yeah. So it's wild, man. And like, you know, he would actually purposely say things to throw the police off. So he would say things to the witnesses like, you know, I'm going up here after this, like, you know, I'm going to this suburb after this, to purposely throw the police off within the investigation.
And because he was a cop, he would know what they were looking for. And
right. And because he was a cop, like the police suspected that he was a military personnel back then, but I mean they didn't know that he was one of their own. And they just, you know, like he knew their movements, he knew the police's movements every time. But it's just an insane case. The way I came to know about it was via a podcast that we always mention here on our podcast called Case File. Case File did a 5-episode, that's 5 hours, a 5-episode extravaganza series on it. And I highly, highly recommend it. It is very heavy, and they do give you content warnings right at the start of the episodes, but I highly recommend it if you're anywhere interested, close to being interested to true crime. I think that Joseph James DeAngelo is the Ted Bundy of our time.
Oh, sounds worse than Ted Bundy, honestly. It's crazy because like him pleading guilty is around the same time they've released this. Like, if I was like Patton Oswalt or the team behind it, I'd be like, well, don't release it yet. Let's throw this footage into the final episode real quick. Like, because it'd be such a great way to end it.
It's never too late. I mean, like, look, The Last Dance, what they did was, you know, while the episodes were coming out, they were still able to add a sort of segment for Kobe Bryant.
Oh, really?
After he passed away. Yeah.
That's cool. Well, I guess, you know, fucking, it's not the same, but Tiger King was like, after it got popular, like the next week they dropped a fucking catch-up episode right at the start of COVID. So yeah, that's really great. It's also crazy to see that footage of him pleading guilty because he is so old now. Like he's
so old.
He got away with so much, that fucking sicko. And finally for today, when it comes to trailers, The Tax Collector, starring Shia LaBeouf and directed by, I didn't realize this until you brought it up to me, David Ayer. What do you think of this, man?
Right, yeah, like I was wondering why you wouldn't want to talk about this, because I was like, surely, like it's directed and written by David Ayer, who I know you might have some things to say about. So I was wondering, like, why you kind of did want to have this in the rotation today.
I'll be honest with you. Like, look, you're right.
The movie doesn't look amazing.
Yeah, it's a well-known director and a well-known actor. It's just, I literally have nothing. I couldn't think of a single thing to say other than this looks like it's below both of them. Like, this looks like a B grade, very generic. Like, the only unique thing about it is that it had like Spanish trap music in the trailer, and I'm not used to seeing that in trailers, but like even that wasn't done anything differently. It seems there's another trailer that came out this week that we're not really talking about called Greenland, starring Jared Butler, and I was like, that I would have more to talk about than this. Like, I literally can't find any comment in my head that is of worth to say, and I'm the type of guy who says literally I talk 24/7. I don't stop. So
I'm so aware of this.
Yeah. So it's really weird for me to have nothing interesting to say about this. It just exists.
I'm weirdly somewhat excited about this.
Yeah? Really?
Look, only on the basis that David Ayer directed Fury and End of Watch, which are both, in my opinion, A+ films. I loved those two movies, especially Fury and especially End of Watch. This looks a lot more like End of Watch. But like when I watched this trailer, I was like, maybe it's just like kind of like a weirdly cut trailer. Because if I was to cut a trailer for End of Watch, it would probably look pretty much exactly like this. Like, it'll be go heavy on the Spanish rap, whatever the fuck. I haven't seen the trailers for End of Watch in a very long time, so I can't tell you what they did. But it'll be very gritty looking. Like it'll kind of be looking like this, and that, and I'm also kind of on a very big Shia run right now. I'm loving what Shia's putting out. Like we talked about Honey Boy and Peanut Butter Falcon.
I knew you'd bring it up. I knew you'd bring it up.
I would bring up Honey Boy.
I want to bet, ladies and gentlemen.
Dude, the tattoos in this movie that Shia got, they're all real.
Oh, he got them for this movie?
Yeah.
Hey, fuck, that's such a Shia thing to do. That is such him thing to do. Of course he fucking did. I should have assumed that. Holy shit. Right. Look, here's something I will say. While this movie does not appeal to me and it doesn't get me really excited, it doesn't really move the needle in either direction, I don't think it looks really bad. It just looks very generic. You're still saying it.
I know you're saying it at the movies.
Yeah, probably because you'll probably drag me to it on Sunday, probably. But here's what I'll say: like, I do respect the fact that there is an audience for this film. I know there are some people who fucking froth for these type of gangster movies. It's just the trailer. It's just not doing it for me.
If it's anything like End of Watch, then I am there day one.
Yeah. Look, I have full faith in David Ayer, despite what you want to say about Suicide Squad. He does make good movies. What he wants to
say about Suicide Squad, because he won't shut the fuck up about Suicide Squad.
Yeah, right now. Man, no one cares what the Ayer. Actually, I do care about it. I'm so curious to see how different it is.
Just fucking kill me. Fucking murder me.
Yeah, look, The Tax Collector. You know what it is? It just makes me think of The Accountant that Ben Affleck did just like a couple years ago, which I never saw, but it's like,
The Accountant was pretty decent.
It's another movie about a guy who handles the money for the mob. No.
I always liked that. It's I always liked that it was not, it's not always about the hitman kind of thing. Like I admire that kind of angle on it. I just want to point out that Brendan Schaub is in this movie he's a UFC fighter. Pretty interesting.
Here's something I will say from my own personal experience, and to give, I guess, credit where credit is due as well. I've tried writing action scripts before and stuff, and something I'm realizing a lot, it is very hard to come up with a script or idea for an action movie with no fantasy or no sci-fi elements, where you have to, because you have to explain why is the guy good at killing people. Otherwise, you just end up with a cheesy 90s, 80s action flick. So it's always going to be, he used to be an assassin, or he is an assassin, or he used to be a cop, or he is a cop, or he used to be in the military, or he is in the military. It's always something like that, because you can't just go, oh, he does MMA on the weekends, So I think that's why you get these things, they get the vibe of generic, even when they may have really great scripts. So I guess you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but I'm kind of doing
why we have this podcast. It's kind of why we have this podcast, to be honest.
Yeah. Let's move on though. I think, unless you have anything else to say on this one.
No, I don't think anyone does on the planet.
Okay, let's move on to the reviews. First up, Zoheb, why don't you tell us all about a film I haven't even heard of, to be honest. 7500.
European 162, what's your emergency?
We have 7500.
Open the door!
Several men attacked our cockpit. We stopped them for now. The captain is injured. Status of the crew, I don't know.
They have a hostage. They're going to kill him if I don't open the door.
You want other guys to die?
Don't stop, please. I can't open the door. Let her go. Please. Please, I beg. Please.
I'm sorry, but you know that under no circumstances you are allowed to let them to the cockpit.
Oh, this movie's from last year.
Yeah. 7500. No, this actually just dropped this year, like literally a couple of weeks ago on Amazon Prime. It's an Amazon Prime exclusive. Yeah, 18th of June 2020. Yep, there we go. About a bit over a month ago.
Weird. Wait, are we recording?
Yes, we are recording.
Hey, listeners, welcome back.
I'm not wasting my goddamn breath. But look, 7500, or in the movie as it's called, 7500, is a movie. It's actually kind of a unique movie. Like it's a plain terrorist hijacking movie, whatever. But the actual catch of the movie is that I think it's so low budget that it takes entirely in the space of the cockpit. We never leave the cockpit. We never go back to the galley or the cabin or anything like that at all.
So we're all like within like a, I don't know, 4 meter by 4 meter radius type thing.
Yep.
So it's like it's a bottle episode.
Yeah, it's a bottle episode.
Holy shit! Okay.
It actually, it reminded me a lot of Buried. Is kind of like that Ryan Reynolds movie a while back, which was, I thought that movie was fucking great, but whatever, we'll save that for another day. But this takes place in like a 5 meter radius, and it's a brisk hour and a half. Like, it is super quick. It's in and out. And obviously they know exactly what it is because it's a movie that takes place in a 5 meter radius. So we're like, we got to keep this short, or the audience is going to lose their minds. But it's actually more of a showcase for Joseph Gordon-Levitt to show off his acting chops, because man, this is just such a good reminder of how good this actor is. I haven't seen him in a movie in a while. I don't know where he's been, to be honest. So it was really refreshing to see him show up in this movie. That being said, I didn't like this movie.
You almost sold me. I was ready to see it. It's like, it's the next phone booth.
I know. I was like, I'm thinking like the audience is like thinking that, I'm going to give this movie like a high fucking score.
This is like the hidden gem of 2020.
Yeah. When in reality, I kind of didn't like it, man. Like this movie, it's problematic. It feels like it should have been made 15 years ago. Like, not too long after 9/11, but not too late either. Like, it feels like, you have Muslim terrorists. Like, when was the last time we saw Muslim terrorists on a plane hijacking a plane?
Yeah,
like,
I'd say Russians are making a comeback now.
Right, Russians are making a comeback. Like this, it reminds me a lot of United 93, the movie, by Paul Greengrass. But that movie was trying to tell you the story, the actual real life story of United 93, and how the passengers were able to overthrow the terrorists on the way to 9/11. Like on 9/11, sorry, rather. So like I'm watching this movie here in 2020, and literally, the terrorists make their move, and as soon as they make their move, like one of them gets up and shouts Allahu Akbar. And I'm just like, dude, did you just really look? And I can say it. I'm a Muslim. You know what? I don't give a shit. I can say it. I think it's in, it's not in poor taste because it happened in real life, but it's dated. It's dated as fuck.
It feels generic. Is that like what you're saying? Yeah.
Yeah, it feels generic, and I don't get offended by this kind of stuff because, again, it's real life. It happened. It literally
So this is
happened.
based on a true story?
No. I'm talking about 9/11.
Oh, but yeah,
9/11
it has happened. Okay, got you.
Right, yeah, and it has happened in real life. So the fact that we are, showing Muslim terrorists shouting Allahu Akbar and stuff like that, and literally, they get to a point where spoilers, we're talking spoilers here, where they do invade the cockpit. You know, one of the terrorists is literally behind the yoke of the plane. Like literally, he's guiding the plane, he's piloting the plane, and you know he's pulling the plane down to the ground. Like, he's flying it down to the ground, and as he's doing it, he's saying a prayer, and I'm just like, man, like I don't like. I feel like we're beyond this. You know, like I actually feel like we're so far past this, and that I'm like, why do I feel like I'm living in 2004? Like, you know.
I think I can add something
strange
to that. Just looking at the trailer, the color grading looks like an early 2000s 2010 film. The blues were very back then, like having such strong blues, especially in the shadows and the midtones. It's very like when everyone was trying to copy Michael Bay.
Well, I don't mind that. There's a reason for that in the movie. There's a reason for that in the movie. It's because it takes place like they're flying at nighttime. And it's raining the whole time outside. So, like, I mean, I get why it's blue and you know.
But I'd say nowadays, more modern films, like the grays are getting more popular and stuff. It just, it does look like an older film.
Here's another thing. There is absolutely no score in this movie. Like, there's no, like, music at all.
Nothing.
It's literally just you and the dull humming of the engine of the plane and the sound of the terrorists outside banging on the door with a fire extinguisher every few moments. What? And it's just kind of like, I get that the director Patrick Vollrath is trying to set up he's trying to create atmosphere, you know, he's trying to create a tone, whatever. But at some point it just kind of gets annoying, dude. Like, I'm just like, this is so strange. But yeah, man, like, look, I think the only thing that this movie kind of has going for it is its lead. Joseph Gordon-Levitt is a fantastic lead. Like, he's a fantastic actor, and he's almost able to make it work. But this is just such a predictable story. It's just a very dated script. It's just a very dated, I guess, concept. The choice to not give it a score is not baffling because I see what the director's going for. You know, it's like the humming of the plane, the engine, is a score unto itself, but not really. It didn't really come off that way. I'm gonna give it probably a 4 out of 10.
I've got some questions.
Yeah, hit me.
Like, this movie seems so bizarre, especially like you've really blindsided me by saying it's got no score. So I've read something here on IMDb, and I know you shouldn't always trust it because a lot of people can add stuff. But apparently, the way the director filmed this, it's not traditionally done. They didn't do it like shot by shot or whatever. Like, they did hour-long takes, apparently. So and with no music, I'm getting the vibe. Does it feel like a play at all? And do they cut a lot like a normal movie would? Or are they like long
takes?
takes?
No. I mean, yes and no. Like, it not really. I mean, like, again, it all takes place in one kind of like cockpit. There are long shots. Like, there are actually like really long shots. So I'm not surprised that you brought that up. You know, like, and this isn't the first big movie rather, to have no score. One of the best movies of all time, in my opinion, has no score, and it's No Country for Old Men. That movie has no score at all. So, like, I mean, you know, you can do it. It's just, it was baffling in this particular circumstance because you had the humming of the engines, and then you had like the terrorists beating on the door like every 5 seconds, and it just got annoying.
I'm gonna check this movie out. 100%. I'm really
I love that you're
interested.
Okay, so with the boys, you're like, yeah, look, I'll check it out. And that, like, now for a fucking shit movie that I gave a subpar score to, you're like, yep, I'm checking this out.
Because it's interesting for the reasons you say it's shit. You know? Like, I have never seen a movie like this. I could say, like, the closest thing I can think of is like something like, I don't know, fucking, what's that movie? Payphone or whatever it's called? Is that what it's called?
Phone Booth?
Phone Booth,
I love Phone Booth, dude.
And Phone Booth's great. Obviously, this movie's not as good as Phone Booth, but
by the way, rest in peace, Joel Schumacher, who just passed away. He directed that.
Oh, yeah. I'd say it's probably his best film. One of his best films, in my opinion.
The Lost Boys.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Sorry, just when I think of him, he gives, it's Batman and nothing else.
Batman and Robin.
Yeah, this sounds interesting, and yeah, it does sound shit though. I can see how the humming of the plane could get really annoying after a little bit.
You know what? It's interesting. I'd like you to watch it, and I'd like you to, tell me your thoughts, possibly on our next upcoming attractions. I don't know. could be interesting to see, like, you know, how we compare them. But
yeah, it could either go one of two ways. I could come back like, bro, you're right, it was fucking terrible. Or I can come back with boxing gloves on like, what the fuck, man? Joseph Gordon-Levitt, it's a fucking showcase. It's innovative. There's no way I'm going to call this innovative.
This isn't like a slight on you, but you have a higher tolerance for shit than I do.
I do. You know what? I try and find the good in shitty films.
Right.
But that's what's ironic because I nitpick the great films as well. I guess I'm always going against, like, I think when a movie's great, it's obvious that it's great.
You're a dissenter.
Yeah. What's that?
To dissent means to go.
Okay. So
the other way of the unpopular opinion.
Cool. All right. So that was interesting. But to close things off with the reviews, Disney just put Hamilton on Disney Plus. Apparently, I read they spent $75 million just to acquire the rights to show it.
Just to get the rights.
Which is crazy.
Let's talk about Hamilton.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show.
The $10 founding father without a father got a lot farther by working a lot harder, by being a lot smarter, by being a self-starter.
To your union and the hope that you provide. May you always be satisfied.
This is Hamilton.
Hamilton is one of the most hyped up, beloved, everybody goes crazy for it, musicals you could probably think of. For you, does it live up to the hype?
Well, I mean, I'm not. Let me build up to that, right? Let me kind of like give you some word vomit because, in my opinion, man, I didn't get any hype. I didn't hear any hype about this. Like, you know, like we don't. Yeah, I know.
Literally, that's right. You don't watch a lot of talk shows. Like, literally, it's like the thing. Every celebrity was at one point obsessed with this. Everyone was tweeting about it, talking about talk shows. So I'm always hearing,
but here's the thing.
What the fuck is this Hamilton thing?
These talk shows are American talk shows, right? They are American. Like, they take place in America with American celebrities, hosted by Americans.
Yeah.
This Hamilton is not an Australian story at all. Like, you know, it's got no Australian resonance at all. So, you know, when I mean, like, obviously I'd heard about Hamilton, right? I've been to Broadway. I've seen a play on Broadway, a show on Broadway. I think it was The Book of Mormon from memory, which is great, by the way. So good. Yeah, so I really wasn't familiar with Hamilton. I didn't know what it was about. I didn't know it was a colonial story. I didn't know it was about the founding fathers. I didn't know that it was kind of like this alternate take on history. I had no idea what it was about. And then, you know, I was listening to this podcast that I listen to pretty often called Real Blend. Real Blend is fantastic. You know, it's kind of like an offshoot from Cinema Blend. But, you know, they were talking about it, and I was like, man, like, you know, maybe I'll check this out. You know, they're talking about like how, like, they're doing a review of it and of the movie, sorry. And, you know, they're talking about how great it is and like how, you know, one of them actually went to Broadway to watch it. They bought like $5,000 tickets or some shit.
Fuck.
And I'm just like, excuse me. Another one kind of like, you know, saw it in Chicago with not the original cast, so not Lin-Manuel Miranda. And I was like, man, what is the hype about this? What is the hype about this? So I went home, like I was listening to that at the gym. I went home and I watched it and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to watch maybe like 5 to 10 minutes of this. I'm not really into musicals or, you know, stage dramas or whatever. Dude, I sat there for all 2 hours and 40 minutes, totally captivated, totally lost in the story that Hamilton had to tell. Wow.
Wow, right? It's so good.
Wow. Just wow, man. Like I was not prepared at all. Like I was messaging Carlos, who hosts Hey Do You Remember? We have a little message thing going. And he was watching at the same time too. Like, you know, I think because it dropped on Disney Plus pretty much around the world the same day, everyone was kind of like really hyped on it. 4th of July, right? So, you know.
Happy 4th of July, America.
Happy 4th of July, yeah. So no better way to drop it, really. And, you know, I had never heard of Alexander Hamilton. Whenever they talk about the founding fathers, you know, I'd heard of Thomas Jefferson. I'd obviously heard of George Washington. I'd never heard of Alexander Hamilton. So I'm having to literally pause the movie every 10, 15 minutes or so to kind of like get like a history lesson. Like I'm kind of like, look, I'm literally like Wikipediaing actual like oil painting people, like, you know, people who you see in oil paintings. So, man, like this movie, by the end of it, my head was full of just knowledge. Now
you're a historian.
Right, yeah, exactly. But not only that, man, the cast in this was just absolutely fantastic. Do you know how they filmed this?
So what I read, it was, I think they filmed it mostly on a Monday, which is usually their day off, but then they would do other stuff. No. They filmed it like during the normal show, but then on a Monday, which would be the normal days off, they came in to do close-ups and stuff, right?
Yeah, so they filmed 3 shows technically. So only one show is the live show with the audience, but the other 2 shows were the shows where they could actually do takes, like actual takes, and do actually have cameras on the stage. Because I mean, look, if you're paying $5,000 a ticket, like you're gonna be pissed if there's cameras on the stage, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how they filmed it, and man, this just absolutely. I had heard of Lin-Manuel Miranda, like I had, like, you know, he's done a lot of musical stuff before. He's done what was
Moana.
that?
Moana.
Oh, yes. Thank
and he
you,
performed
Moana.
at the Oscars, I think. Yeah, it was the Oscars.
Right.
He performed a song for that.
And he wrote this. He wrote the lyrics of this, which is insane, man, because this is just like the way that it uses contemporary music like hip hop, R&B, pop, soul, and then like, you know, the traditional kind of like show tunes, and also casts like non-white actors as the founding fathers.
I don't know if this is, maybe you've read about this because I haven't, but it's something I got an impression of. It looks like for all Americans, or at least the heroes and stuff, they're all people of color. And then I think the English are mostly portrayed by Caucasians.
So,
and I think that's how they split it.
You're on point there.
Right.
So the king, I can't remember who the king was. It's King
He's
George.
so good. He's like, he steals the show at some points. He is so funny.
So King George III is played by Jonathan Groff. If that sounds familiar to you, Jonathan Groff is the lead from Manhunter, David Fincher's Manhunter. Netflix.
Really?
Yeah, that's him. And he is incredible in this, dude. He's so good. But yeah, but that's essentially like what they're going for, right? So I kind of like found this little riff on Reddit because I did some reading on this. But someone was like, the American Revolution was a bunch of white men who didn't want to be taxed. So white history sees their revolutionary efforts as just. They killed for their emancipation from England. They were militant. That, to white people, is acceptable. But those same white people talk shit about Malcolm X for being too violent a man who never started an uprising against the government leading to bloodshed. Violence is only acceptable in the hands of white people. Revolution is only okay when the people leading the charge are white. Hamilton makes those people brown and black. Hamilton depicts the revolution of which America is proud as one led by people of color against a white ruling body. There's a reason why King George is the only character who is depicted by a white man. The function of the visual in Hamilton is to challenge a present in which people of color standing up against oppression are seen as violent and dangerous by the same people who proudly declare allegiance to the flag. It forces white people to see Americans not as the American revolutionaries, but as the British oppressors. History is happening, and they're on its bad side. And I found that quote, dude, and I was just like, man, this just entirely changed my optics on this whole thing.
I will potentially fact check something just very minor. I believe that because there are soldiers that dance that are white as well, I believe. But like, yeah, the king's the only one with like lines, I think. But I believe there are dancers without lines who, like, you know, they'll dance with their guns and shit. But, you know, they're on the same side, so it's still a valid point. But yeah, I think that's
my
really
review,
cool.
man. Like, I think I think it's a fantastic movie. Disney could have waited, a while and then decided to release this into the cinemas. So it would have made a killing in cinemas, I think, because considering how expensive tickets to Hamilton are.
I think that was the original intention.
Right, exactly.
Before COVID and
I
shit.
think, they bought it off for COVID. So I really, really commend Disney for doing that. Man, it was tough. Like, I think maybe the only negative is that maybe it went on for a little too long. Maybe it dragged a little bit, but there's like 40 something songs in this, dude. I looked it up before I watched this and I'm like, I'm not sitting here for all 40 something songs. And dude, I did. And I loved it all. And I just, I don't know. I couldn't be any higher on it. Well, technically I could, because I'm giving it a 9. But I thought it was fantastic, dude. The guy that plays Aaron Burr, I just want to shout him out real quick, man. He's super, super good. So good.
He was one of my favorites as well. And I have a lot of favorites. So just to build off that, I'm going to fuck up the name. I always do. Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Yep.
Close enough. So I've weirdly been a casual fan of him for like 15 years, maybe. I discovered this guy through college humor, when he was in a group that he founded, which still runs this day, called Freestyle Love Supreme, where he, in his group, would do improvised comedy rap shows, where they'd freestyle. And they were always so funny. I found him do a couple sketches with college humor, and then I followed them on YouTube and found all these videos of him and fell in love. And when you hear other people rap in this show, you hear his voice because he has that certain flow. It's very him. It's also very like hip hop, especially like boom bap type hip hop. So it's very, that's really cool. Because I didn't hear of him after that for ages. And then I saw Moana and found out he was that. I'm like, I remember that motherfucker from like 10 years ago, not knowing he's done all this shit with musicals now. So that was really cool. Oh man, this is so cool. I don't know if like I'm a fan of musicals, but I'm kind of like a recent fan. Only like the last 5 years I started going to a few and watching and even listening to some soundtracks. But mostly I prefer comedy musicals. For a musical that's not a comedy, it's really hard for me to like dig it. And when I heard about how Hamilton was really successful back a few years back, I was like, oh, okay, I'll listen to the soundtrack, because I've done that before, not being able to see the musical by listening to the soundtrack. And I could not get into it at first. Like, I was just listening to the songs, and without the visual and the knowledge of the history, I had trouble getting into it, to be honest. And now that I watched it, oh my God, I'm going to be singing these songs forever. It is so well written and so well performed. I think the way of using hip hop and other genres, but hip hop particularly, is really great for musicals because they're getting so many words out so much that they're able to cover quite a lot of content. And when they're doing...
There was some, like... I actually thought that Eminem was on the fucking stage,
Oh,
man.
there's a part where, like, speed raps. It's like, oh, okay, they're doing Rap God.
it's
Yes.
Angelica Schuyler, and the song is called Satisfied, and that is my favorite of the track, dude.
I'll never
I love
be
it.
satisfied. Yeah.
Oh, so good.
Actually, another shout out to the first song where you meet Angelica and the other sisters. Dude, that's
Eliza,
straight up. Yeah, Eliza, and there's a third
Peggy.
one who's... Yeah,
Peggy,
she's
Peggy.
only in that song. Like, that's honestly my only major criticism.
Yeah. It's called the Schuyler Sisters.
Yeah, it's like, where did Peggy go? I thought she'd be...
Well, I guess
in
she
it more,
wasn't really a
but-
part of the Hamilton story,
Yeah,
right?
I just thought you could put her in the background, but I don't know. I'm not going to tell this guy how to do his job. He won like 1 million Tonys and whatever.
Right.
So yeah, what the fuck do I know?
Let's put a pin in the awards talk, because there's some awards chatter.
Okay. So that song could straight up be a Destiny's Child song. Like, it sounded so much like 90s, early 2000s, like R&B pop sort of shit. And it's like, fuck, this is pretty banger. Dude, and the rapping is so good. And what they really do really well is how they use like double entendres and metaphors and just words that sound similar. And I really love how they'll use reprises, and they'll take concepts you've heard before and they'll reuse them and remix them in new ways. Like, for example, the main theme, not gonna take my shot, whatever, right? The word shot in that first song is used like 4 different times. Like they have a shot of alcohol, he's gonna take his shot. Later on, he gets shot, and they mix that in there. And there's like a billion examples throughout this. Like you could watch it. Like I bet I could watch this like 10 times and then still pick up stuff. So much so that I normally watch movies on Netflix and stuff with captions, but I usually don't do it with Disney Plus because they have this weird black line, which is really annoying. I find.
Oh, I do it all the time.
Yeah, I just with Disney Plus, I don't know if you can turn off the black line. I have trouble with that, but Netflix in particular and Stan. All the time, because you can often like pick up extra things you hear in the background. But so for Hamilton, because I don't normally do it on Disney Plus, I watched like the first 15 minutes and I'm like, pause, rewind, subtitles on.
I need to read this. I need to read this.
And there were times when I rap fast, I would rewind again.
Right.
Because it's like, I want to know everything. I want to get everything. Dude, this is so great. And the way that I think also a big plus of using people of color in the spotlight, it actually goes well with the music as well. Like it feels very authentic. There's so much authenticity in this, even though they're like remixing history with the way it's being portrayed. What else can I say about this, man? It's so fucking good. The everything. Fuck it. I'm just like, no one
just pull it.
This guy thinks Hamilton is good. Hot take. No one said that before.
I know.
So yeah, I'm going to give it what I will say is I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. I probably could go 10 out of 10. What I do want to say though is coming after we just recently reviewed Beastie Boys Story, which is another, well, it's not a musical, but that was like a live documentary on stage. And I think it's interesting because they could have filmed this like a movie musical. That's how most musicals are. Cats or whatever. And I think I did read something like this, but I think it's really cool how they just filmed it like a concert would, or filmed it like a normal performance. Because in Australia, Hamilton hasn't come here yet. It's coming next year. And I'll definitely go now for sure. But it's really cool how like it sort of makes you feel like you were there.
I don't know if I'd watch it without the original cast.
Like, you know, they get fucking, I don't know, Emma Stone in a role or some shit. Like, yeah, like even if they'd use the same original cast and they filmed it like a movie, I'm sure it would be cooler and they'd add cool CGI effects or whatever. But I like the fact it was on stage because as someone who feels like they missed out on Hamilton, I feel like I haven't because I got to see it as it was done live. And I like hearing the laughs. I love hearing the applauses and all that. Like that's what musicals kind of are to me. So I'm really glad they filmed it this way. And I think they did a tremendously great job. And I also, one other thing I thought was really cool. I've never seen this done before. I'm sure they haven't reinvented the wheel for this, but the way that they had a part of the floor which rotated, I thought that was really cool. In particular for one scene where there's like a gun duel and you have them like standing there and it rotates. It felt like very anime. And I'm like, fuck, I love that shit, dude. Like the way that they can just have things on stage and sort of like still somehow find a way to create a camera angle for the audience. It's not a new concept to musicals, but I think they did it particularly well. Hamilton's great. Fuck yeah. All right, I'll shut up now. We're both 9 out of 10. Let's move on to the MDF game. Zoheb,
before we do, Hamilton's Oscar chances. There's been some outcry. Well, not outcry, but a very vocal minority who are really championing Hamilton to be eligible for the Oscar race this year, especially considering like what a terrible year it's been for film. You know, like the apparently film theater productions were eligible. So in 1976, James Whitmore earned an Oscar nom for the film production of Give 'Em Hell. But it's happened before. I believe one of Kevin Hart's ones were eligible as well.
Like just a stand-up comedy bit.
Right. Just not under the documentary category. Like it could be under any other category.
Yeah.
But not under documentary.
Yeah, because it's technically, like you could argue, oh, we documented it, but it's not a traditional documentary. Well, right. I think if that's the case, if it is eligible, if they consider filmed musicals eligible, which I don't know, like I don't make up the rules, but I kind of feel like it should be kept to like, you know, traditional film. But if that's the case, then without a doubt, it has a chance for best song Like, it's probably going to win Best Song at the very least.
The Academy actually came out today, I think, and said that Hamilton is not eligible because recorded stage productions are not eligible for consideration. So, I mean, like, I think they're upholding their whole rule change in 1997, which disqualified recorded stage performances. So, yeah. Which kind of sucks for because, like, they did do takes. Like, they did actually film this on stage, you know, like, granted, you know, one of them was a recorded live show. Right. But the other two were actual actors performing a story. Like, different takes were done. So, I mean, like, with the cinematographer, with the score, with the director. So, yeah. Interesting.
Well, I think either way, it probably wouldn't have been eligible because I think to be eligible for Oscars, you have to be in a theater for 2 weeks at least. That's why movies like Marriage Story and shit get like brief releases, I believe. I don't know if that's changing with the whole streaming situation. So the fact they chose to release it direct to streaming is probably a reason why. But I'm sure Disney were like, if we put this straight to our platform, it can probably get more people signing up to Disney Plus.
Like, I would, honestly, if I know a lot of people who have signed up, like, I mean, like, we've read a lot of tweets from people, randoms, not me, like, particularly knowing them, who have actually signed up to Disney Plus because of Hamilton alone.
There you go. You know? I'm not surprised. And Disney
it is eligible for an Emmy. I just want to mention that.
Yeah, that makes sense, I suppose. The Emmys are they got a bit more variety, I think, than the Oscars.
So Lin-Manuel Miranda still got a shot at the EGOT.
I also want to say, I believe, and I'm trying to pull it up here, but I'm just bad at pulling stuff up. But I believe he probably won't be worried because I think he's already won an Oscar. I think might have been for his work. Yeah, I think he might have won it for Moana. The song from Moana, and I think he did some. I don't know if he won, but he might have got nominated for. I think he did some work in Mary Poppins. I think.
No, but he was nominated.
Oh, he didn't win. He just got nominated. Okay, fair enough.
He was nominated Best Achievement in Music Written for Motion Pictures, Original Song Moana.
Right. Yeah, because I do know he does have a very strong relationship with Disney, and he's done work on actually some of the new Star Wars films, as well as his main one's Moana. Oh, there you go. I'm not surprised. But yeah, I know his big one was Moana, and I fucking love Moana. Now to the MDF game. What is the MDF game, Zahab, and what is the question of this week?
We talked about the last time's MDF game, like right at the end of that episode, we were like, oh man, you know, we put up the Jurassic Park versus Jaws poll. So how could we resist the Spielberg MDF game, right? What is your favorite Spielberg film? That is a question for the ages, man, because, you know, if you go through this guy's filmography, let me just list you off some heavy hitters, right? And this isn't even like, I'm not even getting into, you know, The Post or Minority Report or Catch Me If You Can. I'm talking heavy hitters like Schindler's List, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, fucking E.T. Extraterrestrial, all three Indiana Jones films, Saving Private Ryan, Jaws, and Jurassic Park. Like, this is all in one career. Like, you know, it's just insane.
How many other directors come even close to that? Like Tarantino, no. I can think, and that's it.
Yeah,
like,
but look,
but it's not the same level though.
Yeah, none of Tarantino's movies. I'm going to say right here on the podcast, none of Tarantino's movies have the, I guess, public awareness or public adoration that Spielberg's movies do. Like E.T. and Jurassic Park and Jaws alone are kind of like...
I think Pulp Fiction has enough brand recognition.
No,
that's one film.
Like,
that's
I'm
one
talking
film.
Kids. I'm talking all four quadrants.
Oh yeah, no one has. Like Pixar, but that's a studio. Like, you know,
and that's primarily aimed at children.
Yeah, no one's got a large variety of Spielberg. Like if I said to you, do you want to watch the new Steven Spielberg film? You'll have no idea what I'm talking about. Like what to expect. Because it could be a kid's movie, could be action adventure, could be sci-fi, it could be a very great political drama. It could be everything. If I said, do I want to see a Tarantino film? Like, oh, do I want to see feet and blood? Okay.
Right. The only other director that I actually would say is a director that you wouldn't really associate. Well, wouldn't really come to your mind. Robert Zemeckis. Robert Zemeckis has done all 3 Back to the Futures. He's done Forrest Gump. He's done Castaway.
Holy shit.
He's done Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Holy shit.
He's done Flight, Contact. Like, he is a heavy hitter of a director as well.
Oh, fuck, dude. That's a deep dive. Great pick.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, look, like the only reason I kind of associated Robert Zemeckis to Spielberg is because when I think of Back to the Future, I actually think of them as Steven Spielberg films. They're produced by Steven Spielberg, but they're not directed by him. But they just feel like Steven Spielberg films. I actually just watched Back to the Future 1 the other day again, dude. And it just solidified just how perfect of a movie it is for me. I goddamn love that movie. You can see, honestly, I don't mind covering that for our episode 200. Like, this is all like in the air right now, like what we're covering on 200. But man, I am championing that. I am championing Back to the Future hard. So, all right, man. Let's get into this part.
Well, on that note, like
picks.
on that note, I think also his influence on other things too. Like, there are films that aren't Steven Spielberg films, but his fingers are in them, like Star Wars. Like, people associate him because his relationship with George Lucas, just like you might associate George Lucas with Indiana Jones. And dude, Pixar as well. Like, I think he was a initial investor, or he had some element in their early days.
Well, I mean, there's that whole like massive debate about whether he ghost directed Poltergeist.
There you go. There's so many of them. Okay, so let's go into it. So, what is your? I think we know each other's answer.
Okay. Okay. Hold on. Because we know each other's, do you have 3?
Oh, in order or nah?
In order. I have 3 in order.
You put me on the spot, but I guess it would be 1.
What? Don't tell me them.
2.
I'm gonna guess them.
3.
This is great radio. Great.
No,
great.
I don't think I do. I do.
That's all right. I have 3. You can guess my 3.
Jurassic Park, Jaws.
And what number?
Jaws is your number 1. Jurassic Park is your number 2. No, Jurassic Park is your number 3. Your number 2 is Saving Private Ryan. But you really wanted to put Indiana Jones somewhere in there, and maybe E.T.
No.
What is it?
Number 1 is Jaws.
And you considered The Post, but didn't make it.
Not really. No, not in my favorites, man. Like, no way. Not in this guy's filmography. Jaws is my favorite film, Spielberg film. I love Jaws. We will be talking about that on the podcast soon. So that's our next episode, feature presentation. Really excited. And my second one is actually Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, which is, in my opinion, the best Indiana Jones film. I know a lot of people will pick Raiders first, but whatever, you're wrong. And Jurassic Park as number 3.
Oh.
And I think your favorite is Jurassic Park, hands down.
Yeah, because I have to be honest with you guys, I didn't grow up with Spielberg. I didn't really grow up with movies as much. Like, I did, but they were all trash films, which I thought were good. And so I have to go off nostalgia. Jurassic Park. I don't think it's his best film. I'm not sure what I think his best film is.
Well, yeah, we went for favorite, right? We specifically choose favorite every time.
Yeah, like,
I think his best film, his best is my favorite.
Like, if you went by best scene, I would probably go to Saving Private Ryan, but that's only because I feel like that's the answer everyone will tell you is the right answer. But yeah, like Jurassic Park, so much nostalgia tied into that, and the way it changed everything and the way it still holds up, it is absolutely incredible.
I watched that again as well last week. Dude, why did I watch it when we are going to watch it this weekend on the big screen?
You fucked up. You didn't fuck up. You didn't fuck up. You're lucky because you get to see it again, I guess. But I also have a big confession, which I'm not proud of. But
You've never seen Schindler's List?
Pretty sure I have, but I think I was young. A lot of these movies, like, I just seen once, and I was it was more than 10 years ago. I don't rewatch a lot of films, to be honest. But the thing is the Indiana Jones films, I know they're films that I would fucking love a lot more of, but I watched most of them in a marathon once a long time ago. And so my memory, like, they all blur together. And you've never been back?
Oh my God.
Not really. Oh. Like, I haven't really, like, at home, I watch mostly television, and then I'll rewatch, like, my favorite films, and I don't remember them very well. And it's kind of crazy because I grew up obsessed with the Mummy movies, not knowing they were basically Indiana Jones ripoffs. Like
Right.
they're like, oh, let's just add CGI into Indiana Jones and monsters. There you go. And then I've just recently, as
And
in like
Benny.
with
Don't forget
Sorry?
about Benny.
oh,
Don't forget about Benny. Come on, dude.
Isn't it my little buddy Benny? And then like just even
Looks like you're on
recently,
the wrong side of the river.
looks like we've got all the horses.
Yeah.
The Mummy and The Mummy Returns are probably two of my favorite films as a kid. Again, not knowing they took so much influence from Indiana Jones. But even more recently, within the last couple of months, I just played the first 4 of the Uncharted games. And the whole time, I'm watching, I'm playing these games. Yeah, I did the Uncharted collection, 1, 2, and 3. Then I played Uncharted 4, and then I dived into Last of Us 2. So I've been on this Naughty
you've
Dog
been on
bench.
a Naughty Dog, yeah.
And it's crazy how the similarities I'm finding between Last of Us 2 and Uncharted 4. Like, they have these same menus and a lot of these same icons. And yeah, they added a jump button in Last of Us, but it's like, you know what I've been doing for the last 4 games? Jumping. But it's crazy. I was playing them and the whole time, they are so ripping off Indiana Jones. Like, but that's because I know Indiana Jones is such a massive franchise that I just know
Indiana
it
Jones
and I get it.
itself is ripping off other things. Like, it's not a...
It was like
Indiana
it wasn't like radio serials and shit.
But yeah, not really radio serials, more of like comic serials kind of thing. Like an older films, like an older TV shows, you know?
Right.
And
Yeah.
like, it's all, you know, all of these things take inspiration from one another. So, but look, if you are going to watch Indiana Jones again, I'd say watch Raiders and The Last Crusade. That's 1 and 3.
Isn't like the second one's a prequel or something? Like the timeline's a bit weird or something? Isn't there something like that?
They don't have anything to do with each other at all.
Right, yeah.
The only thing is that, in the second one, the second one takes place before the first one only because they didn't want to use Nazis again as the bad guys.
Right. And everybody agrees that the fourth one is the best because the crystal alien skull's the cool, right?
Yes. The fourth one
everyone
is the
loves
best
the fourth
by
one.
miles,
Yeah.
100%.
And we can't wait for the fifth one because it'll obviously be very good. Yeah.
Dude, the fourth one has the best Shia LaBeouf ever in any movie.
Did that movie kick off the trend of taking an old franchise and trying to hand off the torch to someone less charismatic and failing? Because I think right after that we got Die Hard 5 and there was Pirates 4 and we've seen so many movies do that and they never do well.
I'd argue that Pirates did that before Indy did.
Oh, did they? Fuck, okay. That's another franchise. I've only seen, I think, the first and the last one.
What? The last one is directly connected to the second one.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
they filmed those. They filmed. Okay, wait, hold on. Wait, sorry. When
No,
you
but
say
there's
last
4
one,
of them, isn't there? Or 5?
No,
there's
sorry,
5.
there's 5 of them. Sorry, in my head, there's actually only 3 because the first one is just so good. The second one, Dead Man's Chest, is also really good, but not as good as first. The third one has its problems, very bloated, but still enjoyable. And
the fourth and fifth don't exist to you.
Don't exist to me. But the second and third ones were filmed back to back, very much like The Matrix, very much like Lord of the Rings. So I was like,
And Harry
how
Potter, I
has
think,
he
did that
seen
too, right?
Right. So I was like, how has he seen the third one but not the second one? Because that makes no sense.
Yeah, fuck. Oh, man, I just imagine somewhere out there's probably someone who's seen Matrix 1 and 3 and not 2. That would be so weird.
Not the biggest loss. Not the biggest loss. All right, let's get to this poll. Right. So this was a really, honestly, such a good poll. Like, we got such good results. It might not have like garnered the best kind of like MDF game between you and I because we know each other so well that we are able to guess.
I'm just realizing how many people are probably not going to trust my opinions anymore based off of this conversation. I'm sorry,
I don't
guys.
listen to your opinions anyway. So.
Thanks, man.
I'm kidding. So we only had 1, 2. So, all right, look, I pretty much put up his entire filmography as the poll. I skipped a few, like, Kingdom of the Crystal Scroll, because no one's going to vote for that. But 1,
But
2,
it's the
3,
best Indiana
4,
Jones.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There were 10 movies that were actually voted on. The others got 0. The ones that I was really surprised I got 0 were Close Encounters of the Third Kind, because I know that movie has a really good, really huge cult following. Really surprised that Schindler's List got 0.
Same.
Considering what a goddamn masterpiece that movie is. That might be in contention as his best for me, up there with Jaws. Surprised
what-
that Catch
Oh,
Me
go
If
on.
You Can didn't get any votes
Same.
because Catch Me If You Can is really good. And the other one that I was really surprised about is that's it, because Lincoln I heard is a bit of a slog. And The Post, I feel like I'm the only one who enjoyed The Post, but okay,
You might be. I know Bridge of Spies
really good as well.
did well, but I don't hear anyone talking about it. Hook, dude. Fucking Hook is great. I loved Hook back in the day.
Wait,
actually,
when was the last
I haven't
time you
seen
watched it?
Oh, okay. It was like 15 years ago, so maybe it's not good anymore. But that's
Okay.
yeah, it was good when I was like 10 or some shit. You know what I haven't seen, which is on this list, but I really want to see, Adventures of Tintin. Which
Really
I
good.
can't believe I haven't
Really
seen it
good.
because I grew up reading the books. I love the
Oh,
source
did you?
material.
Nice. So
I
did
was
my
a-
dad.
I had a
Honestly, like my dad.
phase.
Yeah.
Wow. I had a big phase and I was so excited when the movie came out and then I wasn't able to see it and in the theaters. And that's the thing. If I don't see it in the theaters, it's very hard to get me to watch it unless I'm like at home with someone. So these days. So that's why like I'm at the movies every fucking week or twice a week these days, is because if I don't see it in the theater, it's really hard for me to just, when I'm scrolling through Netflix, to pick something.
Tintin is fantastic, man. I remember when that was announced, and it was supposed to be I think a trilogy. And the first one was directed by Steven Spielberg, obviously, and the next one was supposed to be directed by Peter Jackson, but that never got going.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, I know. But the first one, dude, has this, and I know it's animated, but has this amazing action sequence with a tracking shot, and you just got to check it out. At least just YouTube it, man. You got to see it.
I remember hearing at the time they were doing something revolutionary with like tech, but
Yeah, motion capture.
yeah, right.
Because Andy
It's
Serkis
so
is in the
interesting.
movie as well.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm watching it the second we finish recording. All right,
So-
to the poll. I'm sorry I keep interrupting.
That's
Just
fine,
Spielberg
that's fine.
is that good.
So there were 6 movies that were voted on, and I'm just going to use the word nominated. 6 movies that were nominated. Oh, wait, sorry. Six placements, rather. There were more movies than 6. But tied for 6th place was E.T. the Extraterrestrial, The Color Purple, War of the Worlds, and Munich. They all tied for 6th place. Munich is a fantastic movie, dude. Really heavy. I love that Steven Spielberg's able to pivot from movies like Jurassic Park, Indiana Jones, like these really fantastical movies, to something that's so heavy hitting like Munich, which is about Jewish soldiers getting revenge about in relation to the terrorist events that happened in the Olympics. Just
Wow.
insane.
And dude, E.T. is fucking solid.
E.T. is
man.
fantastic. Yeah.
Fun thing about E.T., I don't know if you know about this, but there's a documentary about the video game on E.T.
Oh yeah, I do know this. That was
Yeah.
buried, right?
Yeah, so for those who don't know, it's considered one of the worst video games ever made on the original Nintendo Entertainment System, and they couldn't sell them all, so there was they buried a bunch of them, and it became sort of this urban myth. And there's this documentary of people trying to track it down, and
In Nevada.
and they got like forklifts and they unburied it like 20 something years later. Really, really interesting. Check it out.
Yeah. Tied for 5th place. 2 Indiana Jones films. Really surprised that one of them is Raiders of the Lost Ark. So it's Raiders of the Lost Ark and Temple of Doom. Wow, because Raiders of the Lost Ark is critically the one that's received better, which is kind of interesting. So
I think it's got the
yeah.
most nostalgia attached to it as well, from what I hear.
Well, yeah, that's the one with the big rolling boulder. It's got the
the Crash
face
Bandicoot
melt.
level. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, the face melt. Yeah.
Right, the face melt. And in 4th place, we have one movie, Saving Private Ryan. Absolutely fantastic film. Love that movie. In 3rd place, and it kind of broke my heart, but whatever, Jaws, right? I mean, come on, dude. It's a perfect film, in my opinion. 2nd place, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. My favorite Indiana Jones film. I love it. That also has Sean Connery, dude. You really need to see this movie.
Sean Connery's great, man.
Yeah. Yes, he is.
I've never seen also any Sean Connery James Bond. I'm told that's pretty bad.
I hate you so much. I hate you.
But
So
I'm
you've
not
never
a
seen
big
From
Bond
Russia
guy.
with Love. You've never seen From Russia with Love.
No, I've seen The Spy Who Shagged Me.
Kill me. I'm
not a
putting
big
out
Bond
an
guy, though,
advertisement
so yeah.
for a co-host for upcoming attractions, please, ladies and gentlemen. Please send in your resumes.
I stand by that James Bond is one of the most overrated franchises ever. I do
Fucking
like a lot.
kill me.
I do like a lot of them. I do love me some Daniel Craig.
He says he's never seen a Sean Connery Bond film, but he's got an opinion about the Bond franchise. No.
Okay, are there any emotional moments in any of those films?
Doesn't need to be. Doesn't need to be.
Is there
At
any
all.
character development? Do they ever tie into each other?
Doesn't need to be. Dunkirk has no character development, but it's one of the greatest movies of all time. So, I'm sorry.
Disagree, but okay.
Yeah, but look, the Bond franchise is like, you know, it's got nothing to prove, dude. Like it's not in it for the fucking character development.
I don't think this rogue podcast is going to do a dent in their amazing success of 200 movies.
By the way, it's the smallest stuff. I'm just going to really briefly talk about this before I move on to number one.
Do it.
The number one. It's the smallest stuff in the best Bond movies that take that franchise beyond the stratosphere. So it's the moment in Skyfall when he falls into the train and really quickly fixes his cuff. It's the, you know,
Okay.
It's the Casino Royale moment where he gets up, he's won the poker tournament, and he slides a chip that's worth $500,000 to the dealer, and he says, "That's for you." Like,
See,
you know,
you're saying
shit.
ones I know, so I can relate to this. Good.
Yeah, right,
Good
exactly.
work.
So I'm trying to like, yeah, but that's what I mean. Like, it's the smaller stuff, and you know that accumulated over what is about to be the 25th film equals up to a character and equals up to different actors who have had different takes on the one character, which is fantastic in my opinion.
Look,
But
to be fair, I was introduced during the Pierce Brosnan era, and I remember seeing what's that terrible one where he surfs
Die
on
Another Day.
CG? Yeah, I remember seeing that in the movie theater, and as young as I was and impressionable as I was, I remember watching it and like, what the fuck am I watching? They have some techno song with Madonna. This dude's like surfing on a PS1 graphic surfboard.
Well, I'm
What
going to
the
hit you with
fuck is
some
that?
knowledge. That was also the first one that I saw, and I was 9.
Right. So I'm only
Yeah.
a few years older than you. So
Yeah. No, I might have
Yeah.
been 7, actually. 7?
Right.
Yeah, 7. I just remember Halle Berry, and I remember being like, well, that's what a woman looks like. God damn. But look, getting to our number one pick, it's Jurassic Park. I mean, what else could it have been, right?
amazing film, flawless film. It is absolutely incredible from like, I know everyone always talks about the animatronics and stuff, but bro, that script is so solid. That cast is so solid. I am very, very upset that the new Jurassic World movies
I'm not.
don't have the original cast together.
The new one is
What do you mean?
Dominion. Jurassic World Dominion will have all 3 of the leads in the film.
Get fucked. Are you serious?
Swear to God.
I had no idea. That's incredible.
And
My
Sam
biggest
Neill
complaint.
Sam Neill actually said, because that movie is just about to start shooting again due to COVID. He said that they actually will feature prominently in the movie, not like Jeff Goldblum did in Fallen Kingdom.
Oh, that's so cool. So that they're like Force Awakenings it. That's great.
Yeah.
My biggest complaint with the sequels, the Jurassic, Lost World and whatever the fuck the third one was called, was the fact
Jurassic
that...
Park 3.
Was that it? It's just Jurassic Park 3? How did that go from having a subtitle to no subtitle? It's so weird.
Because it wasn't directed by Spielberg.
Yeah. So my biggest complaint was like with the second one, I think the second one they brought back Goldblum. And then the third one they brought back
Sam Neill.
Yeah, him. And it's like, why the fuck aren't they together? Like, did you run out of money and you couldn't pay all the actors? Like,
I think it was a thing where Sam Neill didn't want to come back and kind of it was definitely, I don't know. I don't think they had contractual obligations to come back, so they just chose not to come back. I remember in the third one, there's a very brief moment where it's Sam Neill and Ellie's character, played by Laura Dern, and she's kind of married to someone else, and it's just like, what the fuck is this?
yeah.
But look, I think the first Jurassic World is not the best film ever made, but I think it's great. I think it does its job pretty well, man. Like, I think it's a good movie.
I would not put it in the same league as the first two, maybe even the third one. But by modern day standards of a popcorn blockbuster, it's fun. It's great.
I think it's better than the second one. To be honest, the second one was the second one is really problematic.
Do you put the third one over the second one?
No.
Yeah. Okay.
So I don't put the third one over the second one, but I put Jurassic World over the second one. The second one has a lot of really weird and strange moments. Like there is a whole entire kind of like gymnastics sequence with like Jeff Goldblum's daughter in that movie where she kicks a velociraptor. But there's also this like really staggering moment where Spielberg did a deleted scene, and there's a moment where a ship from the island that is carrying dinosaurs crashes onto the dock in San Diego. And, they go up to investigate the kind of like the captain's quarters, like where they have the steering and whatever. And on the steering, like on this boat is only supposed to be a T-Rex. That's what the final film presents it to us.
Yeah, yeah.
But on the steering wheel, severed hands.
Oh.
Like actual severed hands.
And who the fuck's doing that?
Well, I mean, Spielberg cut out a whole sequence where it was supposed to be velociraptors on that ship as well.
Oh, wow.
And that is in the final film.
Dude, in addition to that, which is the one, is it 2 or 3 that has the talking dinosaur in the nightmare scene?
Alan. Yeah, that's in 3.
Oh, so bad.
I don't think that's... the execution of it's awful, but, like, I get it. It's a dream.
Yeah, like, the concept, it makes sense, but, like, the idea is so dumb. It's like, why did you go through with it? Like, like, it's not on paper, it's not that bad, but...
Yeah, I've never really enjoyed Joe Johnston as a director. I think he was I get why he got Jurassic Park 3, because he's worked in a few Steven Spielberg productions, but I don't really, not a fan of him.
And I think my last point on that is, I guess if we're talking about Lost World, is the fact that the T-Rex is in the city, it feels so forced. It doesn't feel organic to the storyline at all. It feels like they made a movie and then a studio came in and said, oh, by the way, for the trailer, we want a T-Rex in the city. And that just happens. Like, it doesn't really come organically. The whole movie is on the island, and then you just throw in this extra 10 minutes at the end. It just feels really, really forced.
Do you want to know why?
Why?
It's because Godzilla was about to come out. So, Lost World, Jurassic Park, 1997, Godzilla, 1998. Like, it was a...
And like, Godzilla was Jurassic Park in a city, except shit. Yeah.
Exactly.
So bad, so bad. And we don't have to say it, but the most recent Jurassic World, what was that called again?
We've talked about it. Fallen Kingdom.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's so
trash.
Bad.
It's actually trash. There's one good moment in it, and that's when they're, on the ship, like moving away from the dock, and you see that last dinosaur. But that's it.
It's got actually good moments. I'd say even the volcano scene at the beginning is cool. It feels like it's 2 to 3 different... It feels like it's 2 movies sticky taped together with nothing.
That and like there's just some really strange character choices in that movie.
There's weird pacing. Like the most exciting stuff happens within the first 20 minutes, where it's big action packed, and then it goes really slow, and then it becomes more horror-y towards the end. And I'm really sick of them.
Jay Boner.
Yeah, I'm really sick of them creating new dinosaurs. Bro, there's so many dinosaurs we haven't used yet. Just what's wrong with the normal dinosaurs? What's wrong with the T-Rex?
Genetics! Science is bad. All right, man. Let's get to the comments because we got quite a few for this particular poll. So Patrick Harrington, love you, Patrick. He said, "This is difficult, but I had to go with my gut and pick Last Crusade. It's my favorite Indiana Jones movie, hands down. It's just so damn fun." I agree with you, man. Look, I really wanted to read Jose Rivera's comment because this is something, while reading this, kind of nearly made me cry. Jose, you have such a fantastic way of telling stories. And, if you keep doing comments like this, I'm just going to be forced to read them all the time. So I really enjoyed this, man. Strap in for this, right? So this is Jose. I picked Last Crusade because not only is it my favorite Indiana Jones movie, but it's tied into a really great memory. Like, this is just me talking now. Isn't that every good movie, though, right? Like, tied into a really good memory. It was the summer of 1989. It was 5 years. I was 5 years old, and me, my parents, and sisters came back to New York after a short stint in Albany when my dad did his last days in the Navy. Thank you to your service, Mr. Rivera. On this particular day, Dad took me out for a walk, just me and him. We went looking around in stores. He bought me a comic book, and we got some tapes at the local video store. It was great. We passed the theater, and 2 movies were playing, Last Crusade and the most recent Star Trek movie. Dad loved Star Trek. I love Indiana Jones. He did too, by the way. The closer we got to the theater, the more apparent it became we were going to see a movie. I wanted so badly to see Indiana Jones. Dad kept saying, "Are you sure you don't want to see Star Trek?" I didn't get Star Trek. Also, I was 5. But dad was ultimately the one to make the call. We went in and sat down. I was so lucky I had that comic book in my hand because it was going to be a long movie. When I saw the words Indiana Jones on the screen, I was so excited. Whether Dad changed his mind or was just teasing me when he bought the tickets, the fact we were seeing Indiana Jones meant the world to me. I cherish that memory. Every time I see this movie, I smile remembering that day. P.S. This isn't a case where Dad's gone. He's still with us and in good health, thankfully. This is just a good memory. Man, Jose, I love it. I love it so much.
You know what? I'm sure a lot of us have that memory of one of the first times when you really wanted to see a movie in the theater and your parents let you go or they took you. Like, I think I had that with, this is going to sound so cringy, but I had that for the Power Rangers movie. The Power Rangers meant the world to me as a kid. And I know my mom hated the idea of taking me to that movie. She fell asleep in the theater and I was never more captivated by anything. And beforehand, I saw a trailer for Small Toy Soldiers. And that just fucking... Small Soldiers? One of the Gorgonites.
You did this on the last episode. Yeah. You fucked up Small Soldiers. I have the same memory with my mom. It was me, my mom, and my brother. We went to go see Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. And, you know, mom comes from Fiji, is not a big movie watcher. So, you know, remember earlier on in this episode when I was talking about I just watched Back to the Future this week? It's because I was showing Mum Back to the Future for the first time ever.
Aww.
And she was absolutely blown away by the end of it. So I've been kind of like going through these classic movies and showing it for the first time and really kind of like explaining to her like what this means, what that means. And it's been a joy for me, really. And she just loves spending time with us. So,
that's nice.
Yeah. Daniel Lambert says, while I love many of these films, E.T. is a favorite from my childhood. Also, Eddie Torres is one hell of an actor. Agreed. Jeremy Derry says, Raiders, baby. There we go. There's some Raiders love. And then we got Liana Fallon. Dude, Liana Fallon was like, just straight up, this is an impossible task. Danielle Cutter posted a gif of Quint from Jaws saying, singing the song Farewell and Adieu to you fair Spanish ladies. So, Jaws, quite obviously. Lloyd Fry wanted to get technical with me, right? He's just like, so just to clarify, our favorite, not what we think is best made film, right? And I'm just like, yep, chose it carefully. Chose my words carefully.
I want to point out one that you went over. Carlos was like, can I say that I'm shocked in the best way possible that Ready Player One has no votes and isn't even nominated yet? Which I think for a movie that relies so heavily on nostalgia, it's very easy for that to like, and is recent, it's very easy for that to steal a vote or two. And the fact that it didn't even make the list is pretty incredible. That's how great Spielberg is.
Yeah, it does. It's a good movie. I've been watching it again recently. My brother's been watching it because it just got out to Netflix. I think it's good. It's nowhere... I mean, like, I gave people only one option to choose on the poll. So, you know, if you have movies like Jurassic Park and Jaws on a poll and Ready Player One, I mean, which one are you going to choose, you know?
Ready Player One is really just Spielberg just seeing like what all modern blockbusters do and go, oh yeah, I can do that too. Like, you know.
Yeah, I mean, Ready Player One was based on a book by Ernest Cline, who really, really adored the works of Spielberg. It actually kind of reminds me a lot of The Last Action Hero. You know, the one with Arnie. So that movie is directed by John McTiernan, which you know, that movie's trying to make fun of movies directed by John McTiernan. So I don't really know if John McTiernan's the best director for that movie. Same with Spielberg.
That movie, I would love to cover that as a feature one day because there's so many things I could pull apart for both good and bad reasons. It is a very interesting film because usually when we talk about a film that's like, oh, it was before its time, it's usually like in such a very positively great way. And I still think it's a good movie. But it's like, you can tell, oh, this planted the seeds for what's cool now, but you could tell they weren't really sure what to do with this.
I also really find that an interesting movie to talk about. So yeah, you can expect to see that on Midnight Double Features like one day.
Fuck yeah.
All right, man, let's close this shit out.
This has been a great episode, man. I really enjoyed this episode, particularly even our Jurassic Park conversation. I love our tangents. They're
I
really
like
fun.
going off the beaten path. You know, I'm sorry, guys. I don't care if it's a riveting listen, but I'm having fun, and that's what matters.
I like to think that our listeners like that. I think because we're staying on the topic, but we're doing a deep dive. and it's all about the opinions and sharing of ideas. I think that's where the fun really comes out, in my opinion anyways. If you're new to Midnight Double Feature, welcome. This is your very first episode. Thank you for joining us. I'm Matt, that's Zoheb, and this is what we call our upcoming attractions episodes, where we talk about, as you can tell, movies, news, reviews, the MDF game. If you don't know, if you want to play it and be a part of it, you can join our Facebook community group. It's called The After Party, and then brackets Midnight Double Feature. We post our memes, we post our polls, we post all the fun stuff. If you want to just follow us and see where the latest episodes are, check us out on Facebook, Midnight Double Feature, Twitter, MDF Pod, or Instagram, which is Midnight Double Feature.
You can do this.
Yeah, I had to think about that one. And please give us a 5-star review on iTunes, and also follow us on Spotify. The other episodes you're probably seeing in your feed, if you haven't checked them out already, they're called feature presentations, where we pick a movie and do a deep dive into that film. And they are a lot of fun. It's usually with Colin and Zoheb. Sometimes I'll appear, and maybe Danny as well, but it's mostly their territory. And as we've said probably 100 times, next episode is Jaws, and I know for a fact you're excited for that one, Z, aren't you?
God damn, man. If that... we're going to struggle to keep that episode under 4 hours.
I'm particularly... Well, I'm not going to be part of it. I'm particularly interested to listen to it because lately you won't shut the fuck up about this movie. So I need you to convince me why it's his best film, because...
Well, we're seeing it on the big screen, right? We're seeing it on Saturday night.
You know what? Could you just give me live audio commentary the whole time?
I will. I'll give
This
you,
is the
I'll
one
give
time
you one
I'm
of
gonna
my
let
AirPods, and you'll just listen the entire time.
This is
And
the one
this
time
is
I'm
why
going
this is great. And this is why that is great. And on your left, you'll see this.
Yeah, and then the fourth pixel from the left, you got this. This is the one time I'm going to let you. The one time I'm going to let you talk throughout a movie to me. That's definitely okay.
Something I hate doing. Awesome. Thank you for giving me permission.
Oh man. Anyways, that's it for us. If you want to hang out with us, do check out the after party. And yeah, thank you so much for hanging out. I'm Matt. That's Zoheb. Laters.